Alrighty, welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Arena Alchemy Alchemy standard deck. This one is black-green life gain, I guess you could call it, live, draw, kill, repeat. Based around Valentin, Dean of the Vein, and Lisette, Dean of the Root. So this is a Strixhaven card that ever since it's come out, I've tried it in each set that's come out, trying to make it work with black-green life gain. I've never really got it to work well, and this is the first one that I've actually managed to play it a bit in Mythic and not suck. So this is the card we're playing around. Just to run down what it actually is. So Valentin, Dean of the Vein is a 1 black legendary vampire warlock 1/1. It has menace and lifelink, and if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. So sort of the Kamano phase versus Kakazan effect, but just any that die, doesn't have to be killed by Valentin. When you do, you may pay 2. If you do, create a pest. Pests can gain life. So don't often pay the 2, to be honest. It's something that if you've got plenty of excess mana later, you can drop some 2s on, but in general, not something that comes up that often. Being able to exile creatures does. However, the main thing that we're using this for in this deck is a 1/1 menace lifelink, which I'll come to later. The other side of the card, Lisette, Dean of the Root, is a 4 costings, 2 and 2 green, legendary creature, human druid. It's a 4/4 for 4. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and they gain trample until end of turn. This is much more what we are using this card for. So this is one of the sort of wing cons of the deck, where we have the idea really being we have lots of small life gain triggers, and enough extra mana lying around that we can pay the 1 once or twice and then swing in with team to finish them off. So Lisette is kind of one of our win cons. The way we are activating this largely is through lots of different small life gain triggers in the deck, which I'll just go through now. But before I do, we have one more sort of a life gain related win con in the deck. Call it a win con, which is Dina Soul Steeper. Again, it's a Strixhaven card. It's 1 black, 1 green for a 1/3 Dryad Druid. Again, legendary. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. She also has the ability to sack creatures for 1 to give herself +X/+0, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. Again, we're not really using that ability of Dina here. Very occasionally it comes up as like a finishing move, like if you attack with Dina and a 3/3 and they've got 3 life, they can only block 1 of them, but it's only a sort of edge case in this deck. The main thing is whenever they gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So obviously the way to maximize Dina really is to have lots of individual small life gain triggers rather than like big life gain triggers like the white decks can want with the angels. But no, this is more of like you want lots of little like gain 1 life triggers. So it's not really a win con as such, but it's a nice way to drain the opponent out to finish some games off. And so the ways that we are gaining life in this deck, we have 3 March of Wretched Sorrow. So this is the Black March, basically does X damage to a direct creature and we gain X life with the ability to remove black cards from our hand in order to make it more powerful. That ability to make it more powerful does sort of work if we have extra copies of Valentin in our hand, as it's legendary, or Dina. Both are black legendary creatures. So it can actually have use to get those out of our hand and do the extra X if we need to kill off something particularly big. We're running 2 Tenacious Pups, which also has +1 life gain, as well as all the nice sort of benefits to the next creature that we know about. I'm running 2 of Life of Toshiro Umezawa, which is a 2 costing saga. Basically the first 2 turns worth are either +2 to a creature, -1 to a creature, or gain 2 life. So +2 to a creature is nice if you have a creature down to buff. So that's often if you're playing it after turn 2, I would say, because not often do we want to buff our turn 1 creature. Sometimes it works on Valentin, but not often. Often we want to do something else in that case. But the gain 2 life is obviously the fallback case, which we have lots of payoffs for in this deck, so it's a nice fallback anyway. This then turns into Memory of Toshiro on the 3rd turn, which is a 2/3 Human Samurai, which has pay 1 life, add black, spend this mana only to cast instant or sorcery spells. We have lots of black instants in this deck and sorceries. As I said, we've got March of Wretched Sorrow. I'm running 4 Invoke Despairs just because this card is really strong and our deck is heavily black, so it works very well as a top end in this deck. Nice way for a bit of extra removal and also as a bit of a finisher for that extra damage. We're running 2 Infernal Grasps for sort of flat creature destroy, which otherwise we don't have that much of. Obviously March is good at removing creatures, but if they've got something big that we need to get rid of, This is nice. I'm running 1 Sap Vitality, which is an Alchemy card. It's 2 black, instant, so deal 3 damage to that creature or Planeswalker, which is why I have this in rather than a 3rd Infernal Grasp. But also, choose a creature in your hand, it perpetually gains +3/+0. It's actually quite a nice buff. It's just one of our creatures. If you think about it, it's kind of like if you know you're going to get a hit in with a creature, which we don't know, but we've got a good chance sometimes. It's like an extra lightning bolt built into this card, so it's actually pretty decent. The reason that we can be quite sure we're going to get in with creatures is the other creatures we're playing. So we're playing Jukai Liberator. This is seeing more and more play these days, particularly in mono green decks. It's 2 and a green, so 3 costing 3/3 Snake Ninja. It has a ninjutsu for 1 and a green, which is what makes this very playable. So you can come down on turn 2 if you have an unblocked 1-drop, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, choose land or non-land. Take a permanent card of the chosen kind. So this is basically a draw a card, but you can choose whether you need, if you need land, for it to always be a land, or for it to always not be a land. So it's actually a very powerful draw a card, because often draw a card effects can just draw you land when you don't need it, or don't draw you land when you do need it. This always makes sure you don't have those scenarios. So you basically always draw a semi-useful, at least, card. This pairs very well with Valentin, Dean of the Vein, as he has a 1-drop with Menace. It's very rare that if you play this on turn 1, they're going to be able to block it turn 2. There's basically no way for the opponent to put out 2 creatures for 1 mana in sort of standard at the moment. So unless they are removing Valentin or sort of interacting with the Liberator after you ninjutsu it, this is always going to land on turn 2. So you've got a 3/3 attacking on turn 2 that draws you a card. It's a very, very powerful combo. Similarly with the pup, obviously it's not quite as evasive, but it's a nice creature to pick up because we want to be able to replay it and get that into the battlefield again. So we've got quite a nice turn 1, turn 2 combo here if it lines up that way. It doesn't always. Other cards that I've not really talked about, the Celestus. The reason we have this here is it gives us some kind of filtering in our hand with its day-night draw discard ability. That ability also gives +1 life, so it can trigger Dina, and it can trigger Lisette. And also the 3 costing mana rock can help us get to Invoke Despair on turn 4, which can be pretty devastating for an opponent. So we're playing a couple of copies of that in the deck. I'm also running 3 Prosperous Innkeepers, which is kind of my least favourite card in the deck, but it's a 1/1 creature. I mean, most people know what this does, but basically creates a treasure when it comes in, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, we gain 1 life. Now, I don't have loads of creature entering the battlefield triggers, but we do have some, and it is a nice trigger for Lisette. The reason it's nice is that it can trigger Lisette when Lisette comes into the battlefield. So Lisette can come in, pay 1 more, so if you have 5 mana, you can cast it for 4, pay 1 more, and then instantly buff all of your existing creatures. So if we have a couple of creatures down, even a Dina and an Innkeeper or something, buffing them all with Lisette is nice. That's also why this Life of Toshiro is nice, because it gives us a creature at the end. Although it's not the most useful creature, the black mana can help us pay for Invoke Despair, but it also gives us something else to buff with the 1/1 counters from the set. Finally, we've got 1 Meat Hook. It's in there for obvious reasons, won't talk too much about that. Running 4 Graveyard Trespassers. This is basically the ultimate drainy card, which is hard to remove for the opponent. And also the day-night plays well with Celestus, so we can get day-night started with Celestus sometimes and have it on nighttime ready for this to come in as a glutton. It's a nice little extra interaction with the Celestus. But in general it's there for its sort of attritional life gain / life loss of the opponent, which pairs well with Dina and Lisette. And I'm running 1 Nashi Moonsage as Scion. That's just for that extra little bit of late game interaction, but also I like to keep my opponents guessing in terms of if they ever see me play this, they don't know which of these is sort of I'm aiming to ninjutsu in. They might care more about one more than the other, and it's just a fun card to play. Not necessarily ideal in this deck because it doesn't contribute to life gain, but obviously it does pay life. So, in a life gain deck, things like Infernal Grasp, which we have to pay life to cast, are actually better because we have the life and we're not worried about, we can gain the life back to pay for these, which you can't always in some black decks. That's the deck. We've got a fairly standard mana base going on here with 3 hives to empty the opponent's graveyard, particularly important at the moment versus all of the reanimator decks that are going on. Having the trespassers and the hives is really nice against those. And then 1 of each of our legendary lands, and then the rest of the package. I'm not currently running the Forsaken Crossroads, although I probably should be. It's one of those cards I always forget to put in the deck, so I'll probably put that in for the game, so at least a couple of copies. But I don't want too many tap lands if I'm on the play, really, so that I'll probably only play a couple of copies. Yeah, that's it. That's the deck, so I will give it a go. We're currently playing in Mythic for this season, so let's see how we get on. Alright, here we go. It's a pretty decent starting hand. Got the 1-drop into our Gain-Justsu, assuming there's no turn 1 removal for this. Alright, I think I'll land when you need some black sources. We can then hold on to this and use it for Lisette, I think. So we'll just swing first. Okay, Painful Bond. Nice, we're getting a hit in. I think as long as I've got 2 lands, I can take a non-land. Maybe this, followed by this. Oh no, we won't replay this with a treasure, because we want to Lisette it next turn. Then we'll have 5 to be able to put a counter on everything. Yeah, that's okay. Down to 13 already. So that's a 5/5. We then gain 1 life. Use our treasure. Buff everything. Swing. Sadly, 2 black sources off of using this, but so we either get in for 8 or the opponent loses their witch. It's pretty nasty position for the opponent. I have made a Sedgemoor Witch deck myself around Painful Bond, and I think mine was Rakdos rather than mono black, but this could also have a second colour, just not sure. So we'll take our land this time as one of our black sources. So we can obviously gain life with these and with any creature. This is worth 2 life if there's a creature in the graveyard, which there isn't. Even a Meathook or something isn't getting them out of this because the creatures are too big now. Don't know. Lots of destroy spells, but short of having 2 power word kills, even then, still not looking that great for them. Alright. Play this. Gain 2. Pay the 1. And then swing, because everything has trample then, so. If they're going to kill the Lisette, they needed to do it before this went on the stack, but. Yeah. Definitely wanted to do that first. I think I'll play this one out now and give +2 to the Liberator, so that's 7/7 trample, and that is game. Alright, that worked out quite well. Yeah, I'll try again. Alright, next one. I do have 2 lands. Just about, I think. Probably might not have been a keep, but 2 lands into Innkeeper. I mean, I've got a 1/2 drop. Could get a relatively quick despair off. We might be able to set ourselves up with a Lisette combo as well. By combo, I just mean these 2 cards. Alright, middle deck. not really what I want, the third Invoke Despair. But whatever. The question is, do I want to put the Lisette in? It's 4/4, which puts a much better clock on the opponent. Although I don't have then any extra life gain triggers. I don't have any creatures in order to trigger the Innkeeper. I mean, how many creatures have I milled out? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm starting to get a bit light. I reckon holding on to the Lisette is the best move for now. I'm hoping that he hits Invoke Despair with these. Yeah, there we go. There's one gone. So there's no more Invoke Despairs to draw in the deck. Alright, I think Lisette has to come in now that we have a... it's just so painful to give up the treasure when we've got all of these, which would basically guarantee draw me some more land, but... it's the life gain triggers that are going to win the game, I suppose. Should have played at the turn before. Just hoping for a land. So if I get a land now, pretty golden. Wizard class. I mean, this player's playing out all their mill early on, so hopefully it's going to dry up a little bit now. Hopefully their plan is to gradually mill me now, which will take a lot longer. Okay, we've got our land, so I can Trespasser, exile a creature from my own graveyard. Oh, I don't even need to. Just get rid of something out of theirs in case there is any recursion, as we've got an Innkeeper. Getting in for 9. Mono blue mill. I think it's... yeah, there's just not enough different mill cards unless you get crabs down early, but... obviously this is a slight number, like when we're exiling their creatures, and then we don't have anything to exile from their graveyard with Trespasser, but at least I've got plenty in my own graveyard this game. So what's the big 5-drop? There isn't one. Okay, draw 2. I was worried it could be the Invoke the Winds, or whatever it's called, the one that lets them steal my Lisette. If there's no answer to Lisette, then it's game. No, that's not going to do it. I hate calling good games in any games because I always worry like the opponent's going to find some way out of it, but I don't see it in this one. Okay, that was a bit of a freebie. But we'll try again. Tatia 627. Let's do it. This is good. Although it's only a 2-lander, at least we have 1-drops followed by some nice options to turn 2. Battery. See if they block here. Depends if they know about this. I mean, even then, probably still not worth it for them, but gets me out of my land problem. Pretty much the best land we can seek, as it's the most flexible. Okay, so it's a red artifacts deck. What are we doing here? thing is, I got the pup trigger. I don't particularly need on any of these creatures. Let's attack and see what non-land we can get. Celestus, yeah, that's a good play. I can Celestus into pup. That's a 2/3 pup, and I get the trigger back at least. I guess I probably want to kill this automaton off before it gets too big, but it's going to be a 3/3 if they put the battery on it. No. 3/3 anyway. So the problem is it's going to cost 6, which I do not have. We do, however, have the set, but no trigger for life gain this turn, so that's okay. Let's attack. I just want to see where we get to. See if there's any blocks or anything. No. Take a land this time as I don't have one. So I could invoke Despair. Opponent probably just sacks the Iron Apprentice though, puts the counter on the automaton. What I can do is play this and then hold open the march and just accept that I've had to put my pup trigger on there. I think that's the thing to do. Then if they try to like reconfigure this or on the automaton or anything, I can just pick one of their creatures off. It's a slightly tricky position, but it basically means from next turn on we can put less set down. Okay, not too worried about keeping hold of that pup. Up my innkeeper, okay, that's more annoying, but I got nothing I can do about it. It's my life gain trigger deleted. I think I'll kill off the ogre head helm. Just want to deny them any opportunity to draw. I'll hit with the Liberator first. Take a non-land this time. Okay. So we can put Valentin in, which denies them the death trigger off of this. And then cast Invoke Despair maybe. I think this is the best move. Takes them on down to 2. And you don't get a death trigger off that. Okay. Yep, so I don't want to put another copy of Valentin in, as it is legendary. Have to be a good effort to do us 13 damage this turn. Yeah, okay. I had to think a little bit about how to play against that deck, but ultimately we were ahead most of it. Right, let's try again. Here we go. JV top 9 versus Hawasu. I think it's a keep, sadly, but not a happy keep. This is the problem with the Innkeeper, is that when paired with nothing, it's really not that great. Maybe we'll get to use it as an activator for this. I doubt it, but only if they don't have a 2-drop. Nice 4/4 werewolf. I think I can use, I might have to use the the March and exile the Life of Toshiro from my hand. I'll do it in this turn in case they've got a Snakeskin Veil or anything like that. Good old Tovalar. Probably worth meat hooking for 3 here. Guess I can swing at the Innkeeper and then meat hook for 2. That is tempting. But I'm giving them too many cards. Get rid of that Tovalar. It's always interesting to see what the Wolves decks do once you've got rid of their 1-2-3 curve. Like, obviously they've got enough cards to do the whole same thing again, but I'm hoping that we can draw some of our bigger cards to deal with it. What we don't want to see basically is Tovalar coming back. I mean, another one from the hand, not that specific one. I don't think they'll have any resurrection in a Gruul deck. Nah, we don't want to see that either. Not when they've got a trample vigilant creature. We do have some flat destroy in the deck, but just not much. At least I can take out Halana and Alina. Should have probably done it in their turn, so I flipped my Trespasser, but they do have werewolves as well, so nighttime isn't necessarily only an advantage for me. The nice thing is with this deck is we're gaining so much life that against these kind of early pressure decks, even if they go off well, this one really has, I mean, we don't get too low, that I still have options. Okay, braiding the Trespasser. One more card out of hand for them. Interesting that they're willing to ditch their top end at this point in the game. Put the Innkeeper down. I'm going to get the Liberator down as well, because there's no real reason not to. Not that we can do any blocks or anything with it, but if I do draw a Lisette or something, I want to be able to put counters on both. So we haven't had one yet, but only gone through 13 cards, so not too surprising, but hopefully we've got a reasonable chance of drawing a Lisette. This thing's getting a bit outrageous. I think I've only got one Infernal Grasp in the deck. But I have got a few instant removals that I can use in conjunction with a creature to get rid of it, just if they come. That's not great. I think that could be game. Yeah, that is game. Alright. We will we'll try again. I feel like there probably could have been a way we win that, but yeah, just a bit too much pressure from our opponent and not quite the draw out, you know, from our deck that we need, but we'll try again. Alright, next one. Go to 5-2-3. Yep, not perfect, but we like the Golgari Naturalist, but beggars can't be choosers. This should have quite a nice path to invoke the spur. So green, but not mono green if it's for Forsaken Crossroads, I would guess. Okay, could be. Just using it for scrying maybe, but Werewolf Pack Leader. Cameo of Bamboo Groves. Okay, now green blue. I don't have a lot to do here other than just hold open Infernal Grasp, so that's what we'll do. Can invoke Despair next turn. Hopefully. Can Infernal Grasp that, just to get it out of the way. Gives us one more card next turn with Invoke Despair, otherwise they can sack that and then that's the enchantment. Yeah, we'll do this. So that counts as their creature. Then we get 2 cards, which is probably the... I mean, it's hard to know what the nicest outcome is, obviously, because it depends what you are making them sacrifice, but killing something and getting 2 cards and costing them 4 life is pretty decent for 5 mana. Another Cultivator. So we, unless they put another creature in, we can Gain-Justsu Nashi, which could be pretty decent. Let's give this a go. Maybe I'll even hit a land drop. If they don't bounce it, I suppose. Yeah, okay. They've got bounce for it. That's a bit of a letdown. Kind of wanted to see this actually connect for a change. Okay, plussing run and 7. That's interesting. So what do we want to do here? It's a bit of a tricky one. Why are they plussing it? Because they got a way of bringing all this back? Possibly. If so, this is the play. I'm not sure really what I'm doing here. So I don't really understand what this deck is. I haven't really played against any Simic. I've obviously got plenty of land. They could be casting a Coma or something. A Shire? Alright. I'm guessing they're going to create Tree Folk this time, but maybe not. And what's the ultimate? Return all permanents from your graveyard to your hand. That is a way of getting it all back, I suppose, but I think they've realised it's not worth it. Maybe that's what they were going for. So I think now the plan has to be to try to drain the opponent out with Dina. Because we can always culminate in meat hooking all of our own creatures. That's 3 more damage. Yeah, no attacks for now, I don't think. I mean, if we meat hook for 2, that kills 4 of our creatures, which is 4 damage. We could attack with these 2 first and then meat hook for 2, or I don't know. Oh, what? Cyclone Summoner. It's this old combo, a Shire and Cyclone Summoner that they're going for. Okay. So I think we still need to go with the tactic for draining. Just slightly trickier now. And then this one. I think if we get another turn, we can win, but I'm not convinced we're going to. If they have another Cyclone Summoner, then... No, okay, well... Then I should get another turn. I've only got 2 mana available. Obviously I can drop plenty of creatures to trigger Dina. Whether they can remove Dina, I suppose. I mean, I have no incentive to block that. Or that. I guess they could buff something. Can block like this. Not that I think there's a huge chance of them being able to add 3, but just in case. So if I play this, followed by a Trespasser, that pretty much seals the deal. Okay, there is bounce for Dina. So, we can cast this to get 1 trigger, exiling card from our hand to kill. In fact, we can exile 2 cards from our hand. So we'll ditch this and this. No, this and this. Kill that. See if there's a second Fading Hope. Okay, and negate, but they have to tap their Cultivator for it. Which means we've got the 2 damage off Innkeeper, and then I've got the treasure. So we can just play Dina out. Get 2 life gain triggers, and then, yeah, just about wrap that one up. It was close, and an interesting Simic deck. Going back to the Order Shire, Cyclone Summoner win con, but unfortunately for them, playing out our creatures is one of our ways of dealing damage, so just about pulled through. Here we go. Navu. I think I played a bit against this player yesterday, and they had a number, so they clearly had a bit of a slide. This is a really nice starting hand. Valentin into Liberator is nice, and we've got Dina if that fails for any reason. So it's a pretty decent opening hand. I mean, obviously having a 3rd land instead of Nashi would kind of be ideal, but beggars can't be choosers. We should have the ability to gain that extra land through Liberator, but looks like we're about to get hazarded. Yeah. Okay, that's why I was saying at least it's nice to have Dina as a backup. And I have drawn my 3rd land anyway. Slightly harder to remove creature here, and actually can work as an activator for Liberator as well. Okay, opponent having to play out the Spikefield Cave there. I think I'm gonna Gain-Justsu this in, as a 3/3 is a lot nicer to have down than a 1/3, but also that extra draw is nice. I can take a land, as I'm going to need some more for Invoke Despair, which we have 2 of, so. Okay, it's actually a red-white deck we're playing against here, so I'm guessing it's like Angel Fire Ignition plus some creatures. Molten Impact to remove that, okay. See, I've actually got I don't have the land for Invoke Despair. I've only got 3 black sources. I think what I'll do is just play out Nashi. Give them something to deal with. I don't really care if it lives or dies, but most people don't want me playing the top of their deck, so I suspect it'll die. Sadly, they had another Spikefield Hazard, so I could deal with it in my turn, which is not what I intended. Got my black source, which is nice, so we can deal with this situation now. We only draw one, but c'est la vie. Now we've got this very slight combo. So, oh my god, 3 Shatter Skull Smashings and a Forsaken Crossroads. So I almost want to keep this for when they have a creature down next, but if they have a creature plus Angel Fire Ignition, I could really regret it. As though, no, I think I'm going to save it just for one turn. Play my Innkeeper and Dina out. We've got the Hive to deal with the Angel Fire out of the graveyard if they play it once. They've got no creatures to put these on at the moment, so it's always like the first card you play if you don't have a creature down is a waste with this. Okay, I'm glad I held on to Invoke Despair now. Being able to get rid of a gold span is pretty nice. That's worth the 2 life and 1 card. See if they've got any 2 mana cards to buff their gold span. I guess they could cast the 0 costing Shatter Skull. Is that even allowed? Yeah. Just for the counter on gold span, in theory. I didn't cast it for 1, so I rip apart, do you know? Yep, fine. We'll be casting this while we can, get rid of that gold span. I guess we can play life out. We're not going to need that treasure. Deal 2 extra damage to the opponent. It's sort of safe to do whilst they're tapped out, otherwise that's a bit of a risky use of the +2/+2 on an Innkeeper with 1 health. I wonder if we'll just see Den powered up, or if they've got more in the bank. No, Den, it's alright. Basically means that we've got a free turn to swing. See what happens here. If they hold open 2 mana, we're not going to +2 our Innkeeper again. I could just -1 their Goblin. Alright, I haven't got my Innkeeper anyway. I'll just get rid of this. Okay. So, what do we got? 7. So I can't quite Trespasser and Hive. I think Trespasser is the move though, they got an empty hand. I think I'll keep my hook, could be helpful. Not quite in the drainy war just yet, and if they play like another big threat like a gold span, I might wanna, wish I had my meat hook around. I've only got 1 in the deck, so you use it wisely. There are more in the sideboard for best of 3, but I think the life gain in this deck works nicely against lots of decks in the meta at the moment, where it's kind of a bit of a like value game against you. So we can't really be burnt out very easily, which is nice. Okay, that's an interesting one. So they can only pay it once. But they can discard their card in hand to target my Trespasser. Which was an Angel Fire. Okay, so obviously we'll have to get rid of that with the Hive next turn. Okay, we don't have to worry about using the Hive. Might as well develop my board by playing this. Get rid of that, please. And then, yeah, just pass for now. Obviously they've got their Den, and and I got 1 mana in the bank, 1 damage in the bank. But I've got my Memory of Toshiro to block the den this time, so less worried by the den. I'm not holding on to this memory for any reason. Okay, that's nice. Now I want to start emptying their graveyard of spells if we can, in case there's any more adversaries coming along. So what do we not want coming back? Probably Rip Apart. And then we can get rid of 1 Spike Field as well. I can be exiling creatures out of my own graveyard with Glutton. I probably should have done 1 to force a block. I didn't realise how close they were to dead. That doesn't get me there. It's a bit silly of me there. If I lose now to like an Angel Fire Ignition, I'll be gutted. Which could happen. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it. Alright. Got through the Boros Angel Fire deck. I don't think it quite works the way that the opponent's playing it there. I think Angel Fire plus Adversary is a slightly awkward combo because it has flashback anyway. And obviously Molten Impact is nice for clearing out creatures, but against things that have ward and things it starts to get a bit tricky and there's not really a top end. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair, but I think I'd probably struggle to make a deck that works well there. Anyway, GG. Alright, well sadly it seems that Untapped.gg wasn't running on my computer for most of the games with that. I think it must have crashed and or silently crashed, so it wasn't open, so I haven't tracked most of the games to be able to show you the statistics. But my gut feel is I'm probably somewhere 70 to 80% win rate with this deck over probably 20 games. I mean, it's anecdotal stats don't help at all, but it has done really well. Like at my place in Mythic has gone up playing this, so ended at 3-4-2. Again, I'm going to play a little bit more, maybe try and make a best of 3 version. The problem I've been finding with best of 3 at the moment is I keep ending up against silver or bronze players, and to be honest, it just doesn't you don't gain any rating for it, but also it's just like kicking puppies. I really don't feel good beating that, players that are that much lower because they just don't have the cards I have, and it's not fair. So maybe if I play at a time when more people are on, that won't happen, but at the moment it just seems to me like the matchmaker is a bit wrecked for best of 3 Alchemy, just because there's not enough people playing. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you do have any suggestions on how to improve the deck or anything else that you would like to see of this type of thing, please do let me know. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.